Welcome everyone to another video in the Singerreise video podcast series. My name is Jonathan Sylvia and I'm your host. Thanks for joining us. Now I'm calling myself a host for this series because really I'm hoping that this series is not a vanity project for me, but a project for everybody, that everybody can take ownership of it. The best way for you to do that is by leaving your comments down below. And the more people that we have reading the articles in the blog and watching these videos and then leaving their comments about it, the more interesting this adventure becomes for everybody. So I hope that you'll take a moment after watching the video and chip in. For today, we have another piece of the Winterreise cycle. This one is number 2, Die Wetterfahne, which means the weather vane. I'll be performing the vocal part and my wife is playing piano. As before, I'll give a few comments about my observations on the piece and some of my favorite parts, but I'll try to keep my comments just a little bit shorter so that we can get to the fun part sooner. At this point in the story, the wanderer has just left the house of his beloved and written a little note on the door that says, Gute Nacht. He only gets a few steps on his journey though when he turns around and looks at the house again and sees on top of it a weather vane playing and moving around in the wind. He then notes that it's really a lot like the maiden that he just left with her unfaithfulness, and really he should have known better given the symbol that was on the roof. He also then complains that when the wind blows inside the house, it's a little less easy to notice because it's not quite as loud. Well, that's the basic gist of the story. In Die Wetterfahne, we get another clue about what had happened to the wanderer prior to the start of his winter journey. In the last couple lines of the piece, he asks, Was fragen Sie nach meinen Schmerzen? And follows it up with, Ihr Kind ist eine Reisebraut. And basically that translates to, what do they care about my pain? Their kid is a rich bride. So this tells us a little bit more about the family relationship that he was leaving behind. The parents, who had just earlier been talking about marriage, were apparently not talking about his marriage to the maiden at all. They were talking about the maiden marrying some other wealthy suitor. This goes back to the einem and the anderen that was in the previous piece. The einem is the wanderer, and in this case is rather poor, and the anderen is the fairly well-to-do other suitor. So it also gives us a little bit more of a background in terms of why the wanderer decides to get going. The music in this piece is very descriptive, both in the vocal part and in the piano part. For example, in the vocal part, there are lots of rubatos and fermatos, and even some uncommon markings like the words leise and laut. It makes for a fiery, fast piece that can really change dynamics or tempi on a dime. It kind of mimicking the sudden moves that a weather vane might make. For the piano, there's a wind motif at the beginning of the piece and in between lines of text that kind of whips everything up. Sometimes there's a wind motif that goes with the singer in unison, which is really tricky to put together, which of course means that I have a wonderful accompanist. At other times, though, there are just simply chords in the piano part that are a little bit broken apart and have grace notes in them. This sounds like a mocking figure to me, like everybody looking at the wanderer. Finally, I have to mention the trills and the turns that occur now and then in the piano part. Yes, of course, this is yet another spinning weather vane reference. Probably the most distinctive line in the text is nur nicht so laut, which occurs a couple of times. Basically, all that it translates to is, but not very loudly. And you can go a little bit overboard with this line by being suddenly loud and then suddenly soft when you say that line. But I think it's a little bit more of a snarky tone than a spooky tone. You're not telling a ghost story here or trying to wake the dead. It's more that the weather vane is nice and loud and noisy and obvious when you see it on top of a roof. But you can't hear the wind so well when you're inside a house, and you don't see the wind moving among the hearts of the people inside that house, especially when you're with somebody that you are infatuated with. So, that's it for Die Wetterfahne. If you want to find out more, you are always welcome to go to Singerreise.com. which is the place where I've been posting a number of articles, or you can follow this YouTube channel or follow with facebook.com/Singerreise. Anyway, enjoy the music.
Was plagen Sie